Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going deep, really deep, inside our own bodies. We're on a hunt for the invisible structures, the secret scaffolding that literally holds us all together. So, let's just jump right in with a pretty basic question, right? We all know our bodies are made of trillions of cells. But have you ever stopped to think about the stuff in between them? What's the mortar holding all those cellular bricks together? Well, the answer is this incredible, bustling world called the Extracellular Matrix, and we'll just call it the ECM. Believe me, it is so much more than just empty space. You can almost picture it like a busy city grid for all your cells. Yeah, it's this wet, kind of gel-like network that gives our tissues their shape and all their strength. But it's also a highway system, you know? It lets cells travel to wherever they're needed. And living in this matrix are a couple of molecular superstars that really run the show. Now, they've got these long, kind of complicated names, Glycosaminoglycans and Proteoglycans. But don't worry about that, because what they do is super elegant and just absolutely essential. Okay, so let's start with the most basic building block of this whole setup. For our purposes, let's just call them the body's super sponges. All right, the fancy science term is glycosaminoglycan, or GAG for short. And what is it? It's really just a long chain made of repeating sugar units. But the real magic isn't how long it is, it's all about its chemistry. And this is the thing you gotta remember. Their whole structure basically turns them into these incredible molecular sponges. Seriously, if you get this one idea, you're gonna understand pretty much everything they do.
What's so cool is how all these properties play together. See, GAGs are long, and they're packed with negative charges. So they actually push away from each other, kind of spreading out to take up a ton of space. And all those negative charges, they're like magnets for water, pulling in and holding on to huge amounts of it. That's what creates that squishy, gel-like stuff in the ECM. And it's exactly why they're perfect for being shock absorbers in our joints or lubricant in our joint fluid.
But here's the thing. GAGs don't usually fly solo. Nope. They're almost always part of something bigger, something even more complex. And honestly, with even cooler jobs. So what happens when you take those GAG super sponges and stick a bunch of them onto a central protein? Well, you get a whole new molecule called a proteoglycan. And this is basically how the body organizes GAGs to do the really big structural jobs.
Putting one together is kind of like making one of those old-school bottle brushes. You've got your central wire, that's the protein core. Then you add a special little linker, which is just a specific 4-sugar chain. And then poof, off of that linker, the body grows all the bristles, which are those long, water-loving GAG chains we were just talking about.
And this whole molecular brush design is just genius. It's so efficient, the GAG bristles stick way out, they fill up a ton of space, and they trap all that water. That's what gives something like our cartilage its bounce, you know? Its ability to get squished and spring right back. Okay, so we know what they look like and we know how they're made, but what do these different brushes do in the body? Let's open up the playbook and take a look. All right, here are just a few heavy hitters. You've got Hyaluronic. It's this massive GAG that keeps our joints moving smoothly and our skin looking hydrated. Then there's chondroitin sulfate, which is the main shock absorber in all our cartilage. You might have actually heard of heparin, right? It's used as a drug to prevent blood clots. Well, it's just a special type of GAG. And finally, keratin sulfate. You can thank that one for keeping the cornea of your eye crystal clear. And the sheer scale of this stuff is just wild. Get this, the average person is walking around with about 15 grams of hyaluronate alone. But it's not like it just sits there. Nope, about a third of it, that's 5 grams, gets broken down and completely replaced every single day. It's this non-stop cycle of renewal.
So yeah, that constant renewal is absolutely critical. Which leads to the question, what happens when things go wrong? What if the factory's blueprints are messed up? Or what if the recycling center just stops working? Well, the results can be pretty serious.
Usually, these problems fall into one of two buckets. On one hand, you've got synthesis defects. That's when the body just can't build the molecules right in the first place. On the other hand, you have degradation defects. This is where the body makes them perfectly, but it can't break them down and recycle them. And that, as you can imagine, leads to a nasty, toxic buildup.
A really clear example of a synthesis defect is in certain types of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes. Basically, there are mutations in the genes for the enzymes that build these things. The result is faulty proteoglycans. And without that solid scaffolding, you end up with weak connective tissue. That's what leads to those classic symptoms, like hypermobile joints and really fragile, stretchy skin. Now, for the other side of the coin, a degradation defect. A major example is the Mucopolysaccharidosis, or MPS. With these genetic disorders, the body's missing certain enzymes it needs to break down old GAGs. So what happens? The GAGs just build up and up inside the cell's recycling plant, the lysosome. And over time, that buildup becomes toxic, causing really severe and progressive damage to organs all over the body.
So you see, this whole secret scaffolding isn't just some boring filler material. It's totally central to our health. And when you start to really understand it, it opens up some amazing possibilities, right? I mean, as we get better at understanding how to build this matrix, how to maintain it, and how to repair it, could we someday actually regenerate damaged cartilage? Could we fight back against the way our connective tissues break down as we get older? It's a seriously fascinating frontier, and it's happening right now in medical science.